I bought that generator for 95,000 and you, a full-grown woman, sold it for 70. 70. Did they teach you nothing in that bush you came from? Or were you too busy frying akara to learn how to count?
My love, I will return the difference. Take it from my own money. From my next cut, I will pay it back.
From your what? You don't have your own money. Everything you touch, in name on signboard. All of it, mine.
Uche, just let me explain. Somebody saw you today at the hotel along the expressway with a girl.
Go inside. Go and stand inside the shop.
Uche, I am only asking you a simple question.
I said, go and stand inside the shop. You will stay there overnight, without food or water. You will sleep there with the goods, until your head becomes correct.
Uche locked his wife inside that shop with no food, no water, and no light. Then he walked home to sleep in the bed she had bought with her own hands. But Uche made one small mistake that night. In all his shouting, he forgot one thing, and by the time the sun came up the next morning, that one small thing he forgot would cost him his goods, his shop, his marriage, and the last drop of respect he had on that whole street. This is the story of Bumi. Bumi did not grow up expecting much, and life had been faithful to that expectation. She was born in a small town in the southwest, the third of 5 children, in a house where the roof leaked in 2 places, and her mother fried akara by the roadside from 4 every morning. School was a thing that happened to other children. Bumi finished primary school and started secondary, but the year her father's leg was crushed at the sawmill, the money that was for fees became the money for medicine, and that was the end of books for her. She was 12 years old. But Bumi had something that does not come from any classroom. She was sharp. Sharp the way a knife left in the right hand becomes sharper, not duller. By 14, she was counting her mother's akara money and catching the mistakes before her mother saw them. By 17, she had talked her way into a job as a sales girl at Madame Rissi's provision store in town, and within a year, Madame Rissi had handed her the keys, the till, and the buying, because the months Bumi ran that shop were the only months the shop ever made real money. That girl, Madame Rissi used to tell anyone who would listen, cannot read past JSS2, but she can smell profit from across the road. It was true. Bumi could not write a long letter to save her life, but put her behind a counter, give her goods and a street full of customers, and she became a different person entirely. She remembered names, she remembered what a man bought last December and asked after his wife by her own name. She knew which customer wanted respect, which one wanted a discount, and which one only wanted to be allowed to talk for 20 minutes before he bought anything. She made the shop money, quietly, the way she did everything. Then Uche came into her life the way Harmattan comes, suddenly and dressed well. He was a businessman from the city, an Onitsha trader who had come home to her town for a cousin's burial. Somebody's aunt knew somebody's mother, and before Bumi fully understood what was happening, Uche was sitting in her mother's parlor with a cold bottle of malt sweating in his hand, calling her the wife he had been searching for all his life. He was not a bad-looking man, and he talked about the future the way some men talk about money they have not yet made, with total confidence. He told her mother he owned a shop in the city. He told her he was tired of city girls who only knew how to spend, that he wanted a serious woman, a woman who could build. He looked at Bumi, a half-educated sales girl from a leaking house, like she was something rare and precious. Bumi was 26. She had already watched her younger sister marry before her. She had heard what the market women whispered about a girl who waited too long. And here was a real Onitsha businessman looking at her that way. She said yes. It moved fast, too fast, some people would say later. The introduction came, then the bride price before the rains, then the wedding before the year turned. It was less than 5 months from the day Uche first sat in that parlor to the day he carried her away to the city. The night before she left, her mother called her into the back room. Bumi, come and sit down. Mama, I am tired. We have plenty to do tomorrow. Sit down. I will not keep you long. Her mother took her hand, the same hand that had fried akara in hot oil for 30 years, hard in some places, soft in others. You are going to a man's house, a man you have known for only 5 months. I am not saying he is a bad man. I am saying you do not know him yet. A person is like a market. You only see what they put out on display. What they keep in the storeroom, you find out later, sometimes much later. Mama, Uche is a good man. Maybe, I pray so, but listen to me well because I will not be there to say it again. Her mother's voice dropped low. Whatever you do in that house, look out for yourself. Be smart. Keep your sense in your own head, not in his pocket. A woman who forgets herself inside her husband's dream will wake up one day with nothing in her hand, not even the dream. You hear me? I hear you, Mama. Say it back to me. Look out for myself, be smart, keep my wits. Good, now go and sleep. Bumi did not know it then, but those 3 sentences would one day be worth more to her than everything Uche ever promised. The city swallowed her whole. After the wedding, Bumi had thought she would keep working. She was good at it, and a girl who can sell anywhere. Within her first month in Onitsha, she had already heard of 2 shops looking for an experienced sales rep, and she mentioned it to Uche one evening over food. Sales rep, Uche put down his spoon. For who? There's a shop that is looking for somebody and they say the pay is good. Bumi, look at me. He took her hand across the table, gentle, warm. Why will you carry your sharp brain, the thing that every single person in your town was praising, and use it to build another man's shop, to make some stranger rich, when the 2 of us, you and me, can build our own thing, something that will be ours, something our children will inherit one day? Your shop is small, Uche. It is small now, but with you inside it, with your hand on it, we will turn it into something. You will not be a sales girl for a stranger, you will be a partner, a madam, the wife of the owner. It was that word, partner, that did it. Because Bumi had a dream of her own, and it had nothing to do with herself. She wanted children, and she wanted those children to have the one thing she never had: books, school, a future that did not bend every time a man's leg got crushed at a sawmill. Her make peace long ago with being uneducated for the rest of her life, but her children would read. Her children would write their full names without shame and never have to beg a stranger to fill a form for them. A family business was a family school. A family business was that future taking shape. So Bumi agreed. Okay, we will build it together. Uche smiled. That's my wife. She did not notice that when she asked him what her own share of the business would actually be, he never gave her a straight answer.
Bunmi entered that shop the way rain enters dry ground. The shop sold household things: gas cookers, standing fans, deep freezers, blenders, generators, the kind of goods every new couple in the city needed and every old couple needed to replace. When she arrived, it was a tired little shop with dust on the boxes and a signboard nobody bothered to read. Uche had 2 regular customers and a great many opinions about why business was slow. Within 3 months, you could not recognize the place. Bunmi did what she had always done. She learned the goods until she could quote the price of every item in her sleep. She started a small book where she wrote down every customer's name and what they bought, so that when a man's freezer was due for servicing, she was the one who called him first. She arranged the shop so that a customer's eye landed first on the expensive things. She smiled at people the city had trained to expect rudeness, and people remembered her for it. The 2 customers became 10. The 10 became a whole street of people who told each other, go to that shop near the junction, ask for the madam, she will treat you well. The money came. And it was here that the second half of Uche's plan quietly revealed itself, though Bunmi was working too hard to see the shape of it. At the end of the first good month, Bunmi asked about her share. Uche counted out an amount and pressed it into her hand like a gift. It was not a partner's share, it was a sales girl's cut, though he was careful never to use those exact words. Use it for the house, he said. The house? Bunmi, look at where we are living. Old curtains, that fridge that drips water on the floor, cushions the last tenant left behind. Is that the home of a serious couple? You are the wife. Building the home is your own duty. The shop is my headache. Let me carry that. You carry the home. It sounded right. It even sounded like love. So Bunmi took her money her own sweat, her own selling, and she built that home with it. She threw out the dripping fridge and bought a brand new one. She changed every curtain. She bought a real bed, a dining set, plates that matched each other, a standing fan for the parlor and another for the bedroom. Every month her cut came, and every month it disappeared into the walls and the floor of a house with Uche's name on the rent agreement. She was growing his shop with one hand and furnishing his house with the other, and at the end of every single month, Bunmi owned exactly nothing. But she told herself it was for the children who were not yet born, who would walk into a real home and go to real schools, so she did not complain. And maybe you are watching this right now and you are already shaking your head because you have seen this thing before. Maybe you have watched a woman pour everything she has into a man who was only borrowing her hands to build his own dream. Maybe it was your sister. Maybe it was your mother. Maybe it was you. If your own mother or any woman who raised you ever gave you a piece of advice that you did not fully understand until years later, do me one favor. Pause and tell us that advice in the comments so that somebody who needs to hear it today will see it. And then stay with me, because Bunmi is about to find out exactly what Uche was keeping in his own storeroom. There was one thing Bunmi could not explain away, no matter how she tried. Uche was never in the shop. In the beginning, she had not noticed it because there had been so much to do. But by the 4th month, the pattern was as clear as day. Uche would come in the morning, drink his tea, make 2 or 3 phone calls, and then disappear for a meeting. Some days he came back before closing. Many days he did not. The shop opened with Bunmi, and the shop closed with Bunmi. The customers had stopped asking for the owner. They asked for the madam because the madam was the only person ever there. "Where do you go every day?" she asked him carefully, not as an accusation. "Suppliers, bank. You think money grows in the shop by itself? Somebody has to chase the big contracts. That is the man's work. You face the counter, I face the streets." She had no proof of anything, and a wise woman does not throw stones at a shadow. So Bunmi swallowed the small cold thing that had begun to live in her chest, the thing that would not fully go away, and she kept working. She did not know yet that the cold thing in her chest was not jealousy, it was instinct. And instinct in a woman like Bunmi is never wrong for very long. It came to a head on an ordinary Thursday. A big delivery was coming, the biggest the shop had ever ordered, a full batch of new stock, freezers and generators and cookers, enough goods to carry the shop for months. Uche had arranged it himself. That afternoon, the supplier's agent arrived with the invoice that had to be signed before the goods were be released for the delivery the next morning. "Where is Oga Uche?" the agent asked. Bunmi called him. No answer. She called a second time, switched off or ignored. She called a third time, nothing. The agent was an impatient man. "Madam, I have 3 more jobs to make today. Either somebody signs now and your goods come tomorrow, or I cancel this one and you join the back of the queue again next month." Bunmi looked down at the form. Goods received by, a blank line, waiting. She thought about it for 1 second. Uche was not there. The goods had to be signed for. She was in the shop as she was always. So she picked up the pen, and on the line that said who was receiving the goods, she wrote her own name, Bunmi, full and clear. It meant nothing to her in that moment. She did not know that she had just signed for her own future. The goods were to arrive the next morning. Bunmi got to the shop early, swept it out, cleared space for the new cartons, and waited. The truck came around 10 o'clock and the laborers began to bring it all down, carton after carton, stacking them high while Bunmi stood with her book, ticking off each item as it landed. She was happy that morning, genuinely happy. The shop was full of new stock. Business was good. She let herself imagine the children again, the school uniforms, the future, arriving 1 carton at a time. That was when Ngozi crossed the road. Ngozi sold provisions 2 shops down, and she and Bunmi were friendly in the way market women are friendly. Small talk, borrowed change, shared complaints about the heat. But this morning, Ngozi was not smiling. She came close and she lowered her voice, and there was something in her face that made Bunmi's stomach drop before a single word had even been spoken. "Bunmi, my sister, I don't even know if I should tell you this thing, but if it were me, I would want somebody to tell me." "Tell me what?" "Your husband, Uche." Ngozi looked away, then back. I saw him this morning at the hotel along the expressway. He was with a girl, a young girl. They went inside together, the two of them. Bunmi's hand tightened around her book. Maybe it was a meeting. He does business meetings. He's always... Bunmi. Ngozi's voice was gentle and terrible. It was not a meeting. And that is not even the part that pains me. She brought out her phone. My own cousin works at that hotel. She sent me this morning. She said the man was laughing, telling the girl to not worry about you. She said he called you something. He called me what? He called you his village sales girl. He said, do not mind her. She is just my village sales girl. She knows nothing. And Ngozi turned the phone around. There was Uche, in a photo taken from the side, but it was him. There was no mistaking him. His hand resting on the back of a girl in a tight red dress, the two of them walking into that hotel like the whole world belonged to them. And underneath the photo, Ngozi played a voice note, her cousin's voice repeating what she had overheard, and far in the background, faint but unmistakable, Uche's own laugh. His village sales girl. Something broke in Bunmi's chest that morning, and it did not make a single sound. She did not cry. The laborers were still bringing down the goods. The streets were still moving. She just stood there holding her book, and the carton numbers she had written so carefully began to swim in front of her eyes. There was a ringing in her ears, very far away. Her hands had gone cold, the way hands go cold when the body already knows a thing the heart is still refusing to accept. A village sales girl. She had thought she was building a marriage. She had been building a man's lie. Every curtain she hung, every cushion she bought, every customer she charmed by name, every single naira she poured into that house. And to him, she was nothing. Not a wife, not even a partner, a village sales girl who knew nothing. Bunmi, Ngozi touched her arm. Are you all right? Bunmi, talk to me. I am fine, Bunmi heard herself say from very far away. Thank you, Ngozi. Thank you for telling me. She was not fine, but she had learned long ago, in a house with a leaking roof, that there is a kind of pain you simply cannot afford to show in public. So she folded it up and she put it away and she turned back to her goods. But a person who is bleeding on the inside cannot work the same as a person who is whole. For the rest of that day, Bunmi moved like someone underwater. She served customers, she counted change, but her mind was inside that photo, inside that laugh, and somewhere in the late afternoon, the bleeding caused her. A man came to buy a generator, a new one, just brought down that very morning, the same model that had cost 95,000 naira at the supplier. Bunmi's mind was 100 kilometers away. The man began to haggle. She heard the figure he offered, 70, and instead of laughing and starting the dance the way she had 1,000 times before, she simply nodded. Okay, she said, 70. The man could not believe his luck. He paid before she could come back to herself, and he carried that generator out almost at a run. It was only after he had gone that the figure caught up with her, 70. She had sold a 95,000 naira generator for 70 at a loss, the kind of mistake she had never made in her whole life, not once, not even as a 17-year-old behind Madame Rissi's counter. She sat down slowly, and for the first time that day, 2 tears came, hot and quiet, before she wiped them away with the back of her hand. Uche came back just before closing. He had not been to any meeting. She could see it on him now, the looseness in his walk, the smell of somewhere he had no business being. He went straight to the till, the way he always did, to count the day's money, and the figures did not add up. That was the night he shouted at her until his voice cracked. That was the night he told her she was uneducated, that he had picked her from a gutter, from a leaking house in a bush village, that he had given her a roof and a name and a shop to stand in, and that this, selling his generator at a loss, was her way of repaying him. He told her she was waiting, praying, hungry for his downfall. And when there was a small pause in his shouting,
Bunmi did the bravest thing she had done all day. She tried to tell him the truth. Uche, somebody saw you today at the hotel with a girl. The shop went silent. For 1 second, 1 single second, she saw it cross his face, the guilt, the knowing, and then he buried it under something far uglier. So that is it. Somebody filled your empty head with rubbish, and now you want to punish my business for it. You are happy, eh? You want to see me fall. That is why you sold my generator for nothing. You ungrateful, uneducated. Uche, I am not praying for anything. I am asking you one simple question about a hotel. Go inside the shop. Uche, inside, now. And because she was tired, and because that day had already taken everything she had to give, Bunmi stepped back into the shop. She thought he would cool down. She thought we would lock the front and go home and shout it out the way couples shout. Instead, Uche pulled the metal door shut with her still inside. She heard the scrape, she heard the slam, she heard the padlock. You will stay here tonight, he said through the metal. You will stay here with the goods you tried to destroy, and you will learn respect. No food, no water. By morning, maybe your head will be correct. And then his footsteps walked away. The street sounds faded, and Bunmi was alone, in the dark, locked inside a shop full of goods, with no food and no water, and a marriage lying in pieces at her feet. Now stop for one moment, because I want you to put yourself inside that dark shop. Your husband has cheated on you. He has called you a village sales girl in front of strangers. He has taken everything you built and everything you spent, and now he has locked you inside a metal box like an animal and walked home to sleep in the bed you bought. Be honest with me and be honest with yourself. What would you do? Would you cry? Would you call your people? Would you burn the whole place to the ground? Type it in the comments right now exactly what you would have done if you were Bunmi in that shop. I read every single one. Because what Bunmi did next, sitting alone in that darkness, is the reason this story is being told today. She did not cry, she did not scream, she did not even quarrel. She did something far more dangerous than all of that. She started to think. Bunmi sat down on a carton in the dark and she let the noise in her head go quiet, the way her mother had taught her to do over hot oil at 4 in the morning. She thought about it all, the 5 fast months, the word partner, the money that went into a house with his name on it, the hotel, the laugh, his village sales girl, the years stretching out ahead of her, growing his shop, furnishing his houses, while he laughed with girls in red dresses and called her nothing. And then she thought about one more thing, one small thing that Uche, all his shouting, had completely forgotten. The invoice. The biggest batch of new goods the shop had ever held had been delivered that very morning, and the name on the line that said who had received those goods, the name written on the paper that any agent, any supplier, any policeman would look at, was not Uche, it was Bunmi. In the darkness, for the first time in many hours, Bunmi smiled. Then she remembered the rest of it. She remembered who had furnished that house, every item in their home, the bed, the new fridge, the cushions, the fans, the matching plates, the dining set, all of it bought with her money, her cut, her sweat. And Uche had told her so himself again and again with his own mouth. The home was her duty. The home was her own responsibility. The home was her own. Well, then the home was her own. By the time the first grey light came through the gap under the metal door, Bunmi was not tired anymore. She had a plan, and it was complete, and it was beautiful in the way that only a thing built by a quiet, underestimated mind can ever be beautiful. She just needed Uche to open the door and leave like he always did. He came at 7. The padlock turned, the door scraped up, and there was Uche, looking rough but pleased with himself, a man who fully believed he had just taught his wife an important lesson. "So," he said, leaning in the doorway, "are we going to have a problem, or have you learned sense now?" Bunmi stood up. She smoothed her wrapper. She looked at him with eyes that gave away absolutely nothing. And let me tell you something, a woman who can do that, a woman who can keep her face calm while her whole inside is moving like a busy market, that is a woman you should be afraid of. "No," she said quietly, "we will not have a problem. I thought about everything last night. You are right. I overreacted. I just want to put this whole thing behind us and move forward." Uche relaxed. Of course he did. This was exactly what he had expected. The village girl had finally come to her senses.
Good, he said. That is good. I have to go and see the supplier about the balance on the new goods. Open the shop. I will come back in the afternoon. Okay, Bumi said. Safe journey. And Uche walked away, satisfied, never once looking back, never once feeling the ground shifting under his feet. The moment he turned the corner, Bumi reached for her phone. She made 2 calls. The first was to a truck driver she knew from her dealings with suppliers, a quiet, reliable man with a big lorry. I have a load to move today, she told him. A big one. Furniture, household things. Come to this address. And she gave him the house. The second call was to another driver. Come to the shop near the junction. There are goods to load, plenty of them. Bring 2 boys to help. Come now. Then she opened the shop exactly as Uche had instructed her to. She arranged her face into the same calm madame that the whole street knew, and she waited. The truck for the goods came first. The boys began to load, carton after carton, the freezers, the generators, the cookers, the entire new batch, every unit with her name on the invoice. And here is the beautiful part, the part Bumi had counted on all night. Nobody on that street thought anything of it, because for months and months, Bumi had been the one who handled everything. Bumi received the goods, Bumi arranged the deliveries, Bumi sent things out to customers. So when the neighbors saw cartons being loaded into a truck outside the shop, they assumed exactly what they always assumed, that the madame was sending out a big order for a big customer. 1 or 2 of them even waved. Ngozi, 2 shops down, waved as well, and Bumi waved right back at her. The goods filled the truck. Bumi sent that truck ahead and went home, where the second lorry was already waiting at the gate. And then Bumi packed her home. She took everything. The bed she had bought, the new fridge that replaced the dripping one, the cushions, the curtains, the dining set, the plates that matched, both standing fans, down to the last spoon and the last small stool. Every single thing she had bought with her own money, the home that Uche had said again and again with his own mouth was her own duty and her own responsibility. She loaded all of it into that lorry. By the time she was finished, the apartment Uche would come home to was as bare as the day they had first moved in. Bare walls, bare floor, even the old dripping fridge was gone. There was nothing left but the faded marks on the wall where her whole life used to hang. She climbed up into the lorry. She did not cry. She did not even look back at the house. 2 trucks, 1 quiet woman, and by noon, Bumi was gone, rolling across the bridge toward Asaba, toward a new town and a new life, with a full batch of goods in her name and a whole house of furniture she had paid for with her own 2 hands. Uche did not even notice for hours. He spent that afternoon where he spent all his afternoons, not at the shop. It was only when night fell and a fellow trader called him to ask why his shop near the junction had been standing wide open and empty all day with nobody to close it, that the first cold finger of fear finally touched Uche's heart. He rushed to the shop, open, empty, the entire new batch of goods gone. He rushed home, empty, his wife gone, the furniture gone, even the dripping fridge gone. He stood in the middle of his bare parlor, in the dark, in the silence, and for the first time in his life, Uche understood what it feels like to have everything you own taken from you in a single day. His village salesgirl had emptied his entire life and crossed a bridge with it, and he had opened the door and handed her the keys himself. Uche did everything a desperate man does. He went to the supplier first, shouting that his goods had been stolen, demanding they be returned to him at once. The agent calmly brought out the invoice and pointed at the name written on it. Received by Bumi, the agent said.
Your wife signed for these goods. As far as our records are concerned, those goods belong to the person who received them. This is a family matter, Oga. Go and settle it in your house." Then he went to the police. They asked whose name was on the goods. They asked whose money had bought the furniture. And then they listened to the part where Uche admitted, out of his own anger, that he had locked his own wife inside a shop overnight with no food and no water. The officer's face changed when he heard that part, and Uche slowly understood that the police station was not a place he wanted to be standing in either. He called everyone who knew her. He sent message after message. He begged. He raged. None of it worked. Bumi had vanished into Asaba like water into sand, and Asaba was another town, another state, another world entirely, and she had planned it that way from the very beginning. He only managed to reach her once. The phone rang inside a small, clean, freshly rented shop in Asaba, where Bumi was setting up her first display of brand new goods, her goods, under a fresh signboard with no man's name anywhere. She let it ring twice. Then she answered. "Bumi." Uche's voice was shaking with rage. "You think you are clever. You think you can steal from me and just disappear. I will deal with you. You hear me? Bring my goods back. Bring everything back. Or I swear to you, I will travel to your village myself. I will tell the police your mother received stolen goods. I will have that old woman arrested and locked up. Is that what you want? Your old mother sitting inside a cell because of you?" For a moment, Bumi said nothing at all. And in that silence, perhaps Uche believed he had finally found the soft place, the village girl's one weak spot. Then Bumi spoke, and her voice was the calmest it had been in a very long time. "Uche, listen to me very well, because I'm only going to say this one time. You will not touch my mother. And if you even try, here is exactly what will happen. I have the proof. I have the photo of you walking into that hotel. I have the recording of your laugh. And I have one more thing. I have you locking me inside that shop overnight with no food and no water. People saw it. People on that street know it. You. I have not finished. From today, I am going to call your customers, every single one of them, one after the other, the very same list I built with my own hand in my own book. And I'm going to tell each of them exactly the kind of man you are. The kind of man who cheats on his wife and calls her a village sales girl. The kind of man who locks a woman inside a shop with no food and no water. I will not rest, Uche. I swear it on my mother's life. I will not rest until the very last customer has walked out of your shop and gone somewhere else to buy. You took my years from me. Now I am going to take your name." The line went quiet. Then Uche, having nothing else left in his hand, did what small men always do at the end. He cursed her. He poured every insult he could find down the phone at her. Bumi listened to it all, to the very last word, and when he was finished, she only said, "Goodbye, Uche," and she ended the call. She never picked up his number again.
The street found out, the way streets always find out. The city is a small place for a story like that one. The neighbors pieced it together slowly. The empty shop, the empty house, the big trader who had locked his own wife inside for the night and woken up the next morning with nothing left in his hand. And though nobody said it to his face, behind his back, the whole junction laughed at Uche, the big Onitsha businessman who had been emptied out completely in one single day by the village sales girl he swore knew nothing about. "That man," they would say to one another, lowering their voices, hiding their smiles behind their hands. His own village wife packed his entire life into 2 lorries while he was busy enjoying himself at the hotel, and he opened the door for her himself. He gave her the keys. His business never recovered. In the end, Bumi did not even need to call all of his customers. The ones who had the story were already ashamed to be seen buying from his shop at all. The shop near the junction grew quieter and quieter,
until one day it simply did not open its doors anymore. And Bumi built. In Asaba, with the goods that carried her own name and the money she had finally fully kept for herself, she opened a shop, a real one, hers from the floor to the signboard. And she did what she had always done, the thing that no classroom ever taught her and no man could ever take away from her. She learned every customer by name. She smiled at people the city had trained to expect rudeness. She arranged her shop so the eye landed first on the expensive things. And the 2 customers became 10, and the 10 became a whole street that told each other, "Go and see Madame Bumi, she will treat you well." Within 2 years, she had 3 girls working under her and was opening a second shop. "Look out for yourself," her mother had said in a back room the night before everything began. "Be smart, keep your sense in your own head." Bumi had heard her, every word. She had not screamed, she had not fought, she had not begged. She had simply kept her wits exactly the way her mother told her to, and she had waited for the right day to open the door. And now, every single morning, in her own shop, under her own name, building the future of children who would never once have to beg a stranger to fill a form for them, Bumi unlocked her doors and began again. The way she always had, the way she always would. The end. If you stayed with Bumi all the way to the very end of this story, thank you. I truly mean that. So if Bumi's story moved you, if you felt even one thing for her, do this one small thing for me. Tap subscribe and join our growing family of story lovers. It is completely free. It takes 2 seconds and you would be helping one storyteller keep doing the thing they love. And while you are there, tell me honestly, was Bumi right to take everything and leave the way she did? Or do you think she went too far? Drop your verdict in the comments. I read every single one. But before you go anywhere else, look at your screen right now. There is another story already waiting there for you, and I promise you it is just as good as this one. Go on, tap it. I will see you inside.